Hello, everyone. I just published my first short novel. It will be on Amazon on July 10th, which is next Friday. So, as you can see, I got the book. I tried to make it a full length novel, but I couldn't do that. But it's a short novel. And because of that, I made it $35, which would help me get a little bit more in royalties. Because as you know, writers don't get paid a lot of money. So if well, I'm not going to say. I want to say how much I would make in royalties, but I'm not going to say that. Just Google it on your own. But $35 is how much it costs. So I'm going to read the beginning, the prologue, okay? And that will be my way of advertising this book instead of having a trailer for it. Prologue. A teenage girl named Margaret is at home in the morning doing her homework and studying early in the morning to get ready for school. She gets a phone call from one of her friends. "Hey girl," her friend says. "Girl, I'm studying." "What do you mean?" Margaret says. "I just wanted to see how my friend is. You don't have to be worried about no school," her friend says. "My parents are strict," Margaret says. "Just write the answers on your arm and cheat," her friend says. "I can't do that," Margaret says. "Yes, you can. You have to cheat or you're gonna repeat," her friend says. "What does that even mean?" Margaret says. "Do you want to repeat your grade?" her friend says. "No, girl. Bye," Margaret says. "Wait," her friend says. "What?" Margaret asks. "When are you going to get a boyfriend?" her friend asks. "A boyfriend? I don't want to be like you and your man," Margaret says. "We can go on a double date," her friend says. "Margaret!" her dad yells. "Okay, bye, my dad is calling," Margaret says. "Margaret!" her dad yells again. Margaret hangs up the phone, puts her belongings in her book bag, and rushes to the door. "I'm coming. Just give me a moment," Margaret says. Margaret comes downstairs with her book bag on and goes to the dining room to sit at the table as a family eating breakfast with her parents and siblings. "What were you doing, Margaret?" her dad asked. "I was studying. I have exams in a week," Margaret says. Her dad kisses her forehead. "That's my baby," her dad says. "Thanks, Daddy," Margaret says. "Don't be late to breakfast again. You hear?" her dad says. "Yes, sir," Margaret says. "So how are the students and teachers treating you at school?" her dad asks. "I don't know. Them boys are just fine. I want a boyfriend, Daddy," Margaret's sister says. "Shut your hot ass up," her dad says as he slaps her neck. "Daddy, why are you standing? Did you eat already?" Margaret asks. "The man of the house always eats first if he cooks," her dad says. "Stop antagonizing them children," Margaret's mom says. Margaret's dad stares at his wife with an awkward silence. "Okay," Margaret's dad said. The kids are laughing. "That wasn't funny. Eat your food," Margaret's mom says. "I'll be in the living room watching TV while you all get ready to go to the bus. You can come join me whenever you want," Margaret's dad says as he leaves the room. Margaret leaves the house and walks to the bus stop with her siblings. On the bus, they sit down and the kids are acting wild. Girls on one side, boys on the other side. "Keep your hands to yourself," the bus driver says. A little boy shoots a spitball through a straw at Margaret and sticks out his tongue. Nan nan a boo boo, the boy says. You're 14 and you're still saying that? The bus driver says. Margaret's siblings get up and start punching the boy. Hey, stop it! Stop! The bus driver says and falls out of the driver's seat after stopping the bus. On Margaret's way walking to class, a lot of people are looking at her. She is so attractive, if only you knew. Boys would approach her, wave at her, try to get her number, and she would just ignore it as if she wasn't even single. A guy in a red shirt, in a red school coat, approaches her. Hey mama, you fine. Let me get them digits up out of you. He says, No, I'm fine, Margaret says, holding her book in her hand, walking, not even looking his way. A muscular guy in a tank top approaches her. Say, let me holler at you, Red, he says. She coldly ignores him and walks to class. Ruh, put a shirt on, a guy tells the boy in the tank top. Everyone is sitting in class in high school one afternoon as Miss Nella is teaching her algebra class. Margaret, the prettiest girl in high school, is sitting in the middle of the class wearing a light yellow sweater that complements her light brown caramel complexion. Her hair has a large swooped bang that covers her right eyebrow, and above that is a long, high blonde ponytail. She has that know it all look on her face and that better than attitude about herself that the class despises. They just know that she will answer or attempt to answer every question Miss Nella, the Algebra 2 teacher, asks in this boring class that seems to go on forever and ever. Miss Nella, the Algebra 2 teacher, asks, what is the method that we use to solve equations that has to do with the order of operations? Hands go up in the air. Margaret, Miss Nella points to Margaret. The FOIL method, Margaret says. The bell rings. It is lunchtime, and everyone is happy to leave the class and get on their phones and hang out in the courtyard or cafeteria. The students head out to the hallways. Margaret grabs her books in her arms and heads over to the cafeteria with her friends. They grab their lunch trays and sit at their usual spot in the back of the cafeteria. Margaret and her friend LaDonna says, Who is that guy who keeps staring at you at the next table? He is kind of weirding me out. He is cute, but he just stares and stares. He should just say something and not just stare. As she is walking out of class, not. As she is walking out, a light-skinned handsome guy with wavy hair like a Yorkie lightly tugs at Margaret's ponytail. Hey, he says, Hey, love, you look good. He bites his sexy, silky lips. Margaret looks a little offended and irritated at the same time. I'm sorry, but I have to go back to class, Margaret says as she attempts to walk off. No, wait, 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 the guy says as Margaret stops again and turns towards his direction. I've been looking at you and I can tell that you've been looking at me, he says very confidently. Most young men are intimidated by Margaret, but he is not. I thought it would be best if I introduced myself, the guy says as Margaret sighs and rolls her eyes. Even though she knows that most people think that she is stuck up, she doesn't want to seem mean and stuck up. Besides, The guy is kind of cute to her. Okay, Margaret says. My name is Pernell, but people call me Pinu. Pinu says as he holds out his hand. Margaret shakes his hand and responds with, My name is Margaret, Margaret says. I see you're pretty good at math. You answer just about all of the questions, and you are always the first one in class. I was wondering if you could tutor me. If you don't want to do that, we could just sit together and do our math together, Pinu says. She laughs and covers her face with her hand. I'm sorry, you're flattering me, Margaret says. All of a sudden, there is a wet spot on Margaret's uniform. Oh, are you on your cycle? Pinu asks. She looks down. No, I'm not. I'm embarrassed, Margaret says. Pinu slowly widened his grin. Now, don't get too excited, Margaret continues. Years later, Margaret is walking the streets of her college campus in a gray sweater and hair rolled curls until a brown, lanky man in glasses with a blue bottom down. I messed up. Blue button down and a high top fade stops her. I'm sorry I had to stop you. You just look so stunning. You have radiant eyes, nice skin, and I love that natural hair of yours. The man says, Thank you, Margaret said with a warm smile. My name is Harold, Harold says as he held out his hand. Margaret, Margaret says as she shook his hand. I was thinking maybe sometime we could get some pizza or maybe be ice cream, Harold says. That sounds fine with me, Margaret says. Okay, great. Let me give you my number, Harold says. Later, once Margaret got a bit much older, she knocked on someone's door and it was Pinu that opened it. All right, thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, next week, Friday, July 10th, get your books on Amazon. It's called When Will There Be Honesty? Thank you.